obviously, we're going to get into a deep dive of A&M's 34-17 win over Florida in Week 7, but we're going to start off with some commitment news. After the win, I think you and I both suspected it would either be there was a couple names that could have been, down the barrel that would have committed after the game. This time it was another Georgia prospect. A&M has dominated in that region. It's unbelievable how much success they've had. In 2027, four-star defensive lineman, defensive tackle, defensive lineman, you want to see, versatile guy, Elijah Patman, who, I've seen some of his film. I've watched him for a while, and this is a potential game record at the next level. He's a perfect prospect for what they want to do defensively. He fits that Mike Elko mold. And again, I got to give kudos to Sean Spencer and Tony Girardetti, because these guys have been just fantastic in gaining relationships with these guys and competing with the likes of Georgia, Alabama, the top tier blue bloods, especially Georgia in that state that should be dominating in that area. It's just been A&M is late. But I'll get you in on this. What do you have to tell the people about what they're getting in Patton? I mean, obviously, it's a while away until he signs with the team, but right now, we do believe this is a guy who's going to stick to his commitment just because, again, strong relationship, likes what he's seeing defensively. What would the Aggies be getting in Patman?
Yeah, so Patman is, he's 6'4", over 300 pounds, coming out of Warner Robins in Georgia, and he committed prior to kickoff. So he stated really over his social media that A&M was just that home-like feel, and it was the right place for him because they just treated him like he treated his family. He just loves it in Aggie land. And it was really the reason that he was able to commit, got him over the edge. I really want to say that a lot of credit goes to Trooper Taylor and new coach Pop Cooney, who came over from Miami. They were reportedly the ones who were leading the charge with Patman in this recruitment, and they got it done pretty quick. So Patman joins the Aggies class. I think he's the fourth commitment in the 2027 class. With Jace Johnson, Hakeem Frampton, and Demarion Johnson, and he'll slide in at around the second highest rated recruit on their commitment list so far. But like you said, there's a long way to go until signing day in next cycle. So we'll see where this one goes. I really, really do like what it can add to the Aggies defensive line group.
Yeah, as we know, and that's a good point. So Pop Cooney and like you said, Trooper Taylor have been obviously different position coaches. Cooney's really their primary recruiter, one of those guys helping out behind the scenes with all this kind of stuff, and has coaching ability as well. Trooper Taylor, I think he's still serving as assistant head coach, running back coach. Extremely important to on field and off field. So it's not surprising to hear those names involved in recruiting for any of these prospects, because relationships are relationships. Buying into A&M is everything. Yes, working with those position group coaches is important, but at the same time, if you watched A&M at all for the last, I would say probably 3 SEC games when their defense really started to play at that elite level, especially the defensive line, you're seeing sacks, you're seeing pressures, you're seeing TFLs, you're seeing guys playing together. And if you're a young prospect watching that in Kyle Field, where it's loud as hell, you can barely hear yourself talk, and you're watching out on the field and these guys celebrating, having a good time, and dominating the opponent, it's always going to result in commitments, and that's been the case for A&M the last 2 seasons. So we can move on to another guy who we can put him up here, if we can do that now, is yeah, there you go. So 2027 5-star cornerback John Meredith, who received a commitment or received a prediction.
Hold the horses there, Cameron.
Yeah, sorry for that. And he received a prediction to land with A&M. Again, this was Steve Wilfong of Rivals on 3. And, I take these with a grain of salt most of the time. It's really early in the process, but I wrote about this at Aggies Wire last week for the game. Meredith spoke to, forgetting who it was one of the guys at On 3 in the summer, really about his relationship with A&M. And it kind of rings true with all these guys that it's not just football. It's again, all the outside stuff. It's how the coaching, like you've said, treats their family, how they feel so welcomed, how they feel like College Station could be their next home. Yeah, the football is very important. And for Meredith, I think the reason he's getting this prediction now is because of the way A&M has played, especially in the secondary as of late. Because you're a cornerback, you're looking at how this secondary is performing. That's safeties as well, how these guys are moving, the type of athletes that are back there, and the type of development that is taking place. So if you are considered a 5-star prospect out of the high school ranks, you're considered elite. You have all these elite traits, speed, length, the ability to play press and zone at a very high level, which, Mike Elko demands a lot of his team to do that. We will get into the hilarious comment he told Quentin Kessenich after the game about that, but later. But you look at he's probably looking at a guy like Des Ricks, right? Struggled last year during his first season with A&M, played over 650 snaps because of a lack of depth. Obviously, Tyree Chappelle being out last season, they had a lot of guys that had just put in there because they just didn't have enough bodies. And I think according to PFF last season, he was one of the lower graded players. This season, he's one of the higher graded. Did not have his best game against Florida, but cleaned things up in the second half, had a good finish. But if you're John Meredith, who, again, is considered and ranked as the number one corner in the class, the number one player in Texas, according to, I believe, On Three Rivals, this is an elite prospect who, if you can bag him and pair him with Brandon Arrington in the future, your secondary is pretty much solidified, and you can just go into the transfer portal, pick and choose some veterans to come in to solidify your depth. But in terms of guys who can come in, play now, and give you something even the freshman year, and then develop into these type of NFL-like players, this is a great start. And I think that this is what's interesting to me is that, Mike Elko's been recruiting at a high level since he's gotten here. And it's only getting better and better. I mean, there is no drop off yet. I mean, we talked about this last week. He honestly has a chance to end up with the number one rated 2027 class if this momentum keeps up and these commitments keep flowing in.
Yeah, he really does. That 2027 class can just kind of, I don't want to say just be monumental for the program, but that's really how it is, especially if they can keep this momentum up going not only 6-0, but hopefully 7-0 coming this next week against Arkansas. We'll preview this later on. But John Meredith is one of those elite cover corners when it comes to talent. So I believe it was Sam Spiegelman over at Rivals who had that conversation with him over the summer about Texas A&M, where they stand with him. And from what I've heard, it just sounds like the potential fit with Mike Elko, Jay Bateman, and Jordan Peterson, especially too. Mm-hmm. The people on this staff, they've done really well with Meredith and his family, just showing him the love and respect that he deserves in terms of a defense like this. And I really just think that, especially now when it comes to all these other elite programs like Alabama, most recently Penn State, who just fired James Franklin, mm-hmm. I think that A&M can capitalize on visits like he had the past couple of weeks and just continue rolling with it. So, like you said, not much to put into right now besides the prediction. Like On Three and Rivals do, they do predictions because they are predictive, right? Mm-hmm. They're predictive. It's not a showing of what is 100% surely to come, but albeit the Aggies have done a great job with Meredith over the summer and into the fall.
Yeah, it's a feel, right? It's these guys are talking to these guys all the time. Like I'll tell you, in my primary job with Aggies Wire, we have discussions. These guys come, tell us stuff that they want to. It's a give and take type of deal, but there's a confidentiality thing in terms of when you're talking to a recruit. There's always these parameters, and you don't want, but it's their job to tell you if one team is on the right track. So for that, it's a good sign, right? And but it just makes so much sense, right? I wasn't shocked when I saw that. I believe it was on Monday when that came out. I knew this was trending in a very good way for A&M. I think that we talked about it for the season even started. If this team is playing at a high level on both sides of the ball, that's only going to impress recruits more, and that's going to make them feel like, you know what? I like Texas A&M. I like College Station. I like the close-knit feel. I like the family environment, but at the same time, this football is elite now. So I plan on playing here for the next 3 to 4 years. And that it's just a completely different shift from what, 20 years ago to now, is that there was a time in A&M football, I'm going to be honest, my dad and a lot of older Aggies could tell you, it was just about beating Texas sometimes. So, the year was bad, recruiting was fine, but, you wanted to get at least 8 to 9 wins, maybe, but you always wanted to be Texas at the end of the year. The difference is completely shifted. This is a program now that is vying for national praise. At the same time, their praise doesn't really matter. It's about getting to the next level, getting to the college football playoff, and winning a national championship, because we've seen even this season, there's a long season to go. We're going to get into that soon. But if the trend keeps going upward, this team will be competing for championships, not just appearances. And that's what these recruits are saying. So not a surprise. Very happy that, this type of trend is continuing, because it is always good to see that these wins mean, again, being 6-0 is great, but at the same time, it's helping recruiting every single week. And that's going to continue, even though A&M does not play a home game until November 15th. So we're going to get into that right now. Like I said at the beginning of the show, A&M beat Florida 34-17. It was an interesting game, to say the least. I came into that thinking that A&M was going to, kind of slow roll their way into it. Florida's defense is pretty competitive. I think overall they're 33rd in the nation. So pretty good unit, right? Good, especially good in the secondary. Have stars pretty much everywhere, have NFL talent.
And we said this going into last week, that their defense was going to be quite difficult to score on.
Yeah, and I think both of us predicted probably 20+ points for A&M. We did think that Florida could get into that 20s, make it a close game. And it was for a while. I mean, we got to, and I'll get to this quickly and get you on your opinion on that. But this was a shootout, and it looked like that in the first quarter. I mean, DJ Lagway, Florida's quarterback, looked his best, to start this game. He was connecting with Vernell Brown and freshman wide receiver Dallas Wilson down the field. They were taking shots. Brown made a catch that a lot of people don't think it was a catch, but it was ruled a catch. But still, great attempt there, just great ball placement. Went up 7-0, and then Marcel Reed, right after that touchdown,
just uncorked a beautiful deep ball.
Oh God, just a beautiful 67-yard pass. Hit Mario Craver right in the hands. That got the Aggies in the red zone. I think 2 plays later, Marcel Reed ran it up the middle with his own legs, tied the game. Go back. Florida gets back down the field. DJ Lagway throws a very beautiful pass to Dallas Wilson in the left corner. And A&M again, just the offense kept going. It was good pass after good pass, explosive run after explosive run. We're going to the mid to, I think it's the second quarter. A&M is up 21-14. That was after Le'Veon Moss's 22-yard run. Kind of skipping ahead because we can't kind of go to.
We're going back and forth. We're skipping bits, guys.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's like, yes, there was a great 22-yard pass to Jerry Morrow that took the lead at 14-7. They tied it at 14-14, and when A&M took the 21-14 lead, that's when things slowed down completely. I think both defenses really got control of the game. But that was when we're going to lead into now. Le'Veon Moss, Texas A&M senior running back, got injured. It looked like, at the time, possible knee. It was reported by Quint Kessenich that it was an ankle. He went out of the late before the half, was seen walking, and then going into the second half, again, A&M was up 21-14 at that time. They said he was available, but did not enter again, which I think confused a lot of people, because sometimes in a game like that, there are emergency situations where if everybody gets hurt, you have to have a certain player available just if. And Moss is probably saying, well, no, I could come in if needed. But at the same time, when the swelling goes up and you finally get a diagnosis, we found out on Monday that he's going to be out, according to Mike Elko, several weeks he said a significant amount of time. Sorry about that. Which I believe is probably going to be 3 to 4 weeks in my.
I'm going to guess around 3. We could see him pop up as a questionable on the report for the Missouri game, or maybe even a game time decision for that. Which that's going to be a game where they're going to have to try and see if he's available. Yeah,
and I mean, here's the thing. I would say this for Moss is that he's already shown an ability to heal faster than others. When he tore his ACL and MCL last year, I bet probably I think that was an early November game. Obviously had surgery, made his way back, and was healthy enough during the spring. healed up more in the summer and was obviously completely healthy going into the season. So I wouldn't put it past having an ankle problem. We've seen this with the Dallas Cowboys with their wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb. He had a high ankle sprain that was, you saw the photo of it. That ankle was swelled up like no other. He's possibly going to play against the Washington Commanders this weekend. So some players just heal a little faster than others. It's based on the rehab. I think A&M's rehab team is fantastic. So, and there was a person on our Aggies Wire feed, fan that was kind of asking about it. He was thinking that it was going to be longer. I discussed it with him, and I said, look, it just depends on the player. It really does. So for Moss, I agree with you. I think he probably is going to come up questionable before that Missouri matchup because remember, A&M does play LSU in Baton Rouge after Arkansas this weekend. So this does give him a ton of time. And so I'm going to get your opinion on this. Ruben Owens, the sophomore running back, who's going to take a majority of the snaps, had a career game against Mississippi State, 142 rushing yards, looked fantastic. I think he was averaging like 8 yards per carry at that time, just bursting through holes. He's going to take a majority of these snaps now. I'm repeating myself. But he spoke today about, his own ability, just talking about, he's gotten bigger this offseason. He does look much bigger, much stronger. He's still got that quickness and agility. It's just about, getting those snaps, getting confident in that role. But at the same time, he talked about this depth that they have, starting with, yes, Amari Daniels and EJ Smith, who are the veteran backs who will see the field, but really Jamarian Morrow, who, as I mentioned earlier, caught his first career touchdown off of a perfect route, just kind of standing in the corners. And Marcel Reed got through a perfect pass there. Has a little Davon Achane type of build to him, a little bit of the same type of I wouldn't say, he's not really a bowling ball, because he's not that short, but it's just the way he kind of moves. And, he's not ready to be like a 3-down back yet. I think he had like 8 yards total running.
I think so, yeah.
That Florida front, that's always going to happen. He's a freshman. But at the same time, Owens talked about his ability as a route runner, the versatility he brings. So really, your opinion, you've watched as much as I have. Do you think A&M can, hold down the running back room and provide at least enough explosiveness and consistency while Le'Veon Moss is out? Obviously, 3 consecutive road games. They're going to need this running game to step it up.
Well, let's look at it this way. I don't think that they would be playing those other running backs if they didn't think they already had them be able to provide those explosive plays anyway. Otherwise, they would just be playing 1, maybe even 2 running backs anyway, right? Yeah. So now that Ruben Owens does have to come in and be this bell cow of a running back for the most part, you can give those opportunities to a lot more of the other running backs. They have not shied away from using Jamarian Morrow in the run game and in the pass game with his first career touchdown over in that corner of the left end zone. So this is something where it's a little bit different than last year where you had Ruben Owens out for the season already and then Le'Veon Moss goes down for the rest of the season. And then you had to rely on Amari Daniels, who was banged up pretty much every single game, but still he gave it his all for the Aggies last year in those last couple of games. And then EJ Smith looked pretty promising in the passing game as well. But now you have 4 running backs who you can just play consistently. And most importantly, they all provide around what you need for this offense because they've made Marcel Reed more of a pocket passer this year. So he can take off with his legs anytime they want, but it's really how are they able to complement each other. So if the running back room with all these, at least 3 or 4 running backs in that room can just provide that complementary style of offense and rushing attack that Le'Veon Moss did, I think they'll be sitting in a very, very promising position for the next couple of games with him out.
Yeah, so kind of continuing into the second half, I think that's where some Aggie fans have a little bit of a worry is that, but again, we have to remember who they were playing. Florida's defensive front is very NFL-like, in terms of size and strength. And, when you have that type of size, you're going to improve in the run game. You're going to really shut down what A&M is trying to do and make them more one-dimensional. That's really what happened. Ruben Owens had, I think it was about 52 yards, had a couple good runs, but he was only averaging about 3 yards per carry. They really had to dump that outside of that very long 50-yard drive that basically ended the game, which was incredible to watch, to be honest. Just beautiful football strategically. But A&M's defense was incredible in the second half.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness.
And this is the thing, and this is what I was really saving to talk about, because we can kind of skip. A&M had 2 field goals and a touchdown late in the game to Reuben Owens. That's how he got to 34 points, and that was really built on this defense, giving them every possession to basically make mistakes. There were a couple. There was a Marcel Reed interception that was just kind of boneheaded. Didn't really know what he was doing there, but these things happen. But again, the defense saved them each time. This was one of the best showings I've seen. This defensive line was wreaking havoc throughout the second half. DJ Lagway, who had a pretty comfortable pocket during the first quarter, that's why he was able to have that impressive performance and throw for, I believe, is over 250 yards. But again, held them for 1 for 10 on third down. This third down defense is for real, people. This is one of the best I've seen in college football in years. And Cassius Howell, who I saw somebody say Ruben Bain is their Heisman candidate the other day. And I get it. Very talented, possibly a top 5 pick in the 2026 NFL draft. Where's the love for Cassius Howell, who currently has 8 sacks on the year? I forget how many pressures he has, but it is a lot. And I think him and Deion Hayes had a combined 7 pressures against Florida. Obviously, Deion Hayes had that game-sealing sack fumble. And the options they have on the defensive line, especially at edge, just to come in fresh, make a play. DJ Lagway was running for his life most of the time. He had no time to throw. There was on the 1 third down they converted, the pass had to be perfect down the seam. And you can even tell the Texas A&M's cornerback rotation was just like, damn it. We allowed that one.
That's one of those things where it's just like, how did that go by? And
exactly,
even though it did go by, man, was it good.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, well, no, I was like, bravo, good throw and catch, because honestly, it's just one of those things where, if your defense is playing at that level and you allowed 1 third down conversion against, again, a wide receiver core that's pretty damn talented. I will say that. Like, Dallas Wilson is going to be a star. He already showed that against Texas. Bernell Brown is very underlooked and underappreciated, I think, because I saw pre-game, there was a Gagem 24/7 description that was getting a lot of blowback of how they were talking about him. But to be honest, those guys really did nothing in the second half, because A&M secondary would struggle in the first quarter, shut them down as well. Des Ricks had a much better second half, like I said earlier in the show. And it was just a complete team effort. And that is why A&M is being called probably the most complete team in the SEC, because of the way they can dominate on both sides of the ball. And we're going to finish, obviously, with that 12-play, 50-yard drive that all of us were watching this going, okay, what are you doing here? And then when the ball just kept going forward and they kept getting first downs and they kept trickling that clock down, draining minutes after minute after minute, that culminated in that Reuben Owens. It was a kind of I forget what the play was, but it was in the corner. It was in the left corner. But
I believe a little short toss over.
Yeah, it was a short toss. He muscled his way into the end zone. Basically, ended the game. I think they had like 2 minutes left. It was a little more than that.
It soaked up just under 8 minutes and 10 seconds of time.
Yeah. If you're doing that, so I'll say this: if you're doing that without Le'Veon Moss, I'm not too worried going forward, because if you have that strategy and you're going to do this against lesser defenses, not saying LSU has a very good defense, that's a different story. But again, Florida really committed to the defensive line. They really committed to shutting that run down, but they still got enough out of it. And it was beautiful to see. And that really does. It was really hard actually doing the recap of this game and really doing the takeaways outside of obviously the defense performing at a high level, the running back room stepping up, because it was such a complete game that there wasn't a lot that I was criticizing a ton, and praising, the obvious things was very easy, but it really took and the penalties was a big thing too. Only 3 committed penalties in the game after 22 combined in the last 2 wins. Progress has been made there. Not one on the offensive line. Got to give love to the offensive line before we get our guests in here. Again, 1 hit, I think it was 1 pressure on Marshall Reed throughout the game, did not allow a sack, did not allow a QB hit. I mean, he had all day to throw, essentially. This was a front four that destroyed Arch Manning throughout the game, right, against Texas. So kudos to those guys. If this type of performance keeps going, this is why A&M is going to be favored in most of the games they're playing, and even on the road. Probably not Missouri, but they are, according to ESPN FPI, 51% favored to beat LSU, which I kind of thought was incredible. That's where we're at this season. But Kenan,
that's where we're at with predictive metrics now. So
yeah, exactly.